Where is she? Was it all in my head? Victor and Violet Snow had just dined on each other's blood, only for Violet to disappear into thin air. Victor was bewildered. He looked down at the mangled corpses by his feet as the reality of what he had just done hit him like a ton of bricks. I killed these men with my bare hands. He heard a whistle in the distance and looked up to see Violet perched on the edge of a roof above him. She called down to him. "What are you waiting for?" Victor was relieved to see the moonlit outline of the beautiful vampire. He yelled back, "There you are! How do I get up there?" He could see a playful grin grow on her face. "Just jump!" Victor crouched down, threw caution to the wind, and launched himself into the sky. It was a rocky ascent, but he managed to tumble to a stop on the roof beside her. He caught his breath, exhilarated. She took his hand and laced her soft fingers through his. "Come, I have lots to show you." Victor sighed. "I can tell this girl is nothing but trouble, but I don't care." Victor accompanied Violet to a mansion so decadent it appeared to be straight out of a movie. The property was absurdly large and filled with more than 30 rooms. Wow, this must be at least a $10 million estate. Victor followed Violet to the front door. As soon as he lifted his foot to cross the threshold, he was sent stumbling back, as if blocked by an invisible barrier. That's right, my untested weakness. Vampires cannot enter other people's houses without being invited. A short woman in a French maid's uniform rounded the corner. She had piercing blue eyes and a thin but well-defined body with a blonde ponytail draped over her shoulder. As soon as she entered Victor's field of vision, he could tell she wasn't a vampire. The maid spoke very professionally. "Miss Violet, I see you have brought a guest." Violet smiled. "Yes, Natalia. Can you invite him in?" Natalia nodded. "Come in, Victor. You must have a lot of questions." After the formal invitation, Victor was able to walk right through the doorway. He followed Violet through the grand estate while feeling Natalia's eyes bore into him. Why is she watching me? Victor followed Violet into a stately living room where she directed him toward a plush green sofa. "Be seated, won't you?" He nodded in agreement and sunk into the comfortable couch. Violet glided into a seat beside him. He caught a whiff of her aroma and once again felt an intense sexual desire. He shook his head and took a deep breath, trying to tamp down the carnal impulse. She studied his face. "You're controlling yourself quite nicely despite being a newborn. I was thinking you would ravage me right here, right now, for all the servants in the mansion to see." Victor stammered, unsure how to reply. Violet just winked. "Oh well, your loss." Victor's body tingled, sweat beading on his forehead. My God, this woman. He tried to refocus. Although I find that prospect very tempting, PDA is not my kink. I just need answers. Violet laughed. "You're honest, aren't you?" Victor fidgeted with slight nervousness. Try to live with a woman who only speaks her mind for all 21 years of your life. You inevitably pick up on some of her traits. Victor slapped the back of his hand with faux outrage. "You've lived with another woman for over 2 decades? Who could she be?" Victor smiled. "Let's just say she gave birth to me and I haven't been able to shake her since." Violet nodded with the realization. "Oh, right, your mother." She draped her hand on his upper thigh. "But I wasn't worried. I know you're a virgin, so there's no reason for me to be jealous of other girlfriends." Victor stammered with embarrassment. "Wait, how do you know I'm a..." Violet crept her hand up his thigh. "Only virgins can be turned into vampires." Victor took a deep breath. "So, that confirms it. Vampires. That's what we are?" Violet gestured to her pale, voluptuous body. "What else?" Victor thought back on all the irregularities. "But I barely have any of the weaknesses from most vampire lore. You know, sunlight, cross, I can even see my reflection in the mirror. Plus, I have the ability to see the red world. And I've never heard of a vampire with that skill." Violet raised an eyebrow. "Red world?" Victor nodded. "Yeah, that's what I call it. For some reason, whenever I'm excited by the smell of blood, my vision changes. Everything goes red and I can see through walls. People's bodies just become silhouettes, and if they're humans, I can see their heart beating with a pulsing red glow. It's like their hearts are calling out to me, begging me to drink that person's blood." Violet stared back with admiration. Victor gazed at her milky white neck. "But you're the only one who is different. When I look at you with that vision, I can only see your neck glowing red. Violet studied him like he was an exotic animal in captivity. Just as I suspected. It seems like it was the right decision to turn you into a vampire. You're even more special than I realized. And you've inherited my characteristics. She excitedly wrapped her arms around him and nuzzled her mouth into the side of his neck. Jeez, this woman wants my blood right now. He pulled back. Hang on. What does that mean, your characteristics? Explain to me what's going on. Violet sat up straight and collected herself. Let's start at the beginning. There are two kinds of vampires, the noble vampires and the plebeian vampires. The two species are similar, but their differences are crucial. Noble vampires, that's me, can have children, and those children will always inherit the same characteristics as their noble father or mother. Heredity heightens these traits, so the children's powers are always greater than their parents. Victor listened, confused but engrossed by her explanation. Violet continued. My family, the Snow family, has the fire trait. That means we can control fire and have full immunity to the sun. Normally this trait wouldn't be passed on to other vampires my family has raised, but you seem to be different. Somehow you got it. Victor's eyes widened. That means I inherited. Violet nodded emphatically. Yes, you inherited my trait, even though I didn't give birth to you. Almost all vampires have an aversion to the sun. A few families have some resistance to sunlight, but only my family has full immunity to it. Victor processed the news, remembering when he tested his body in the sunlight. Just out of curiosity, what happens when a normal vampire is exposed to sunlight? Violet grimaced. They turn to ashes. Jesus Christ, that was really close. I almost cremated myself. Violet raised her hand. Like I said, my family's characteristic is to control fire. She summoned a fireball out of thin air, letting it hover above her palm. Victor was amazed. Holy shit, that's incredible! Violet rotated the fireball in her hand. My family is very feared in the vampire world. After all, with a small ball of fire, we can reduce a vampire into ash. She cackled in delight, exposing her sharp teeth. Victor shifted uncomfortably. You mentioned plebeian vampires. Yes. You'll encounter them someday. Plebeian vampires cannot have children, and they get characteristics according to their personalities, not bloodline. The plebeian vampires are usually the creations of noble vampires. Victor scratched his head, puzzled. So, I'm a plebeian vampire because you're a noble vampire, and you created me. Violet chuckled. Yes and no. You are a plebeian vampire because I created you. But you also inherited my trait. That aspect makes you a noble vampire. Great, I'm a walking contradiction. Violet leaned in close, her breath hot on his neck. Remember that red world you talked about? He tried to ignore his raging desire. Yes, of course. Violet teased him, gliding her tongue over his ear. His body tingled and pulsed with an ecstatic surge of energy. She swung her leg over him, grinding on his lap. That red vision is your own personal plebeian vampire trait. You gained it when I turned you into a vampire. Victor's heart raced, his manhood throbbing. Violet's grinding intensified. You see, Victor, your blood is special. She ran her teeth across his neck. Because you also gained my family's immunity to sunlight. So that makes you a noble vampire of Clan Snow. Victor has never been called special before. He stammered. I have so many questions, so many things I don't understand. Violet slid her fingers between the buttons of his shirt and ripped it off his body, exposing his bare chest. Let's save the boring explanations for later, shall we? Violet parted her luscious red lips as her fangs extended from her mouth. She lunged forward and sank her teeth into Victor's neck with hunger and precision. His body was shocked with the jolt of discomfort, followed by a wave of intense pleasure radiating through every fiber of his being. God, this feels good. Victor was overcome with lust. He grabbed Violet's perfectly sculpted ass with both hands, squeezing hard. She moaned in delight as she wrapped her legs around his waist. Victor stood up, lifting her in the air. The whole time, her teeth still affixed to his neck. Dribbles of blood streamed down his chest. He threw her back down on the couch and tore off her dress, revealing lacy black lingerie over her plump breasts and curvy waist. He opened his mouth, baring his fangs as his vision shifted to crimson red. He glanced up at the wall of the living room and saw the silhouettes of 4 females and 2 males on the other side, watching. Only one had a glowing red heart. Victor paused, distracted. That must be Natalia, but who are the rest? He found himself suddenly overcome with a burning anger. He shouted at the vampires on the other side of the wall. "Leave us, now!" But the silhouettes remained, standing there completely still as if silently mocking him. Victor rose to his feet, bellowing at the top of his lungs. "Leave now, or I'll make you leave!"